when it comes down to crunch time, when it comes down to closing time, is that going to be the guy that has the ball in his hands, or is it going to be Fred?
Your Houston Rockets are Southwest Division leaders by 2 games now. 3-0 against Memphis this year. They win the season series over Ja Morant, and he did not pull a gun on them afterwards. Hello, and welcome aboard Gallant and George. It is Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. I am Paul Gallant. He is Joe George. Joe, I wish I paid more attention to this game last night. I fell asleep in the midst of Vikings-Rams. I was a tie little boy. And I noticed on the top screen that the Rockets were down by a sizable amount. I think it was 11. And I said, you know what? At least this game's closer than Vikings-Rams. Switched Rockets onto the big TV. Lo and behold, a dramatic comeback victory.
So what you're saying is you're the reason why the Rockets won the game.
Some are saying that.
It's because you turned on the game, and just like Saturday when you were in the press box for the Texans game, the Houston teams just perform in front of Paul Gallant.
I like it.
I'm just saying.
I like it. It's like going to a strip club but not actually paying any money. Free lap dances for me from the Rockets and the Texans over a couple of days. Hell to the yeah.
I mean, look, you're down 187 with looks like 9:55 here left to go in the fourth quarter is when they were down 13.
I think it was like a minute left in the third where I said, you know what, like this football game is god awful.
So bad.
Even I'll admit it. Sam Darnold, I think the Rockets are better at football than Sam Darnold. I think, seriously, under Ime Udoka, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. I think the Rockets are better at basketball than Sam Darnold is.
Yeah, I mean, I think Amen Thompson could play for the Vikings right now.
I was going to say, Amen Thompson coming off the edge next to Grenard.
Yeah. Honestly, I was thinking slot receiver for Amen Thompson.
Yeah, put him anywhere.
A 6'9" slot receiver.
Should the Texans sign Amen Thompson for Saturday's game versus the Chiefs?
All hands on deck. Actually, no. The Southwest leading Houston Rockets need him.
That's true. They do. That was a good win last night. Memphis is obviously a good basketball team. To beat them 3 times this year. I don't think Ja played in all 3 of the games, but last night's game,
he has been in the last 2, I think.
Yeah, and what matters the most for last night is what Jalen Green did. He was phenomenal.
So this is the big question: is this Jalen Green in the midst of another hot streak, or is Jalen Green figuring it out? Always got to remember, the guy's 22 years old. He turns 23 in a little under a month.
It's hard to say because it was so bad early, and it was poor coaching, and it was a poor organization at the time under Steven Silas. Really, not organization, but a team. Like they were a mess with Silas. Last year we saw baby step improvements. We have March as the sample size. I'll be honest, I kind of lean into figuring it out. With Amen Thompson in the lineup, it feels like they have unlocked the best version of the Houston Rockets, the best version of Jalen Green. It just seems to be going in a much different direction as soon as Amen Thompson entered the starting lineup. So I kind of lean right now to figuring it out over hot streak.
There were a couple of moments in last night's game where I saw some sort of sync between Thompson and Jalen Green, whether it was Thompson blocking a shot at the rim and feeding it to Green, or you also just had this beautiful play with, I want to say like 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left or so, where Amen Thompson, Steven Adams, and Jalen Green were all involved, and Adams had this unbelievable pass under the rim. But it feels like they are developing some sort of chemistry. You saw them after a couple of big moments in the game, chest bumping each other. You saw them after the game, after the interview that Vanessa Richardson did with Jalen Green, where Dylan Brooks popped in and actually was smiling and happy, which was kind of alarming to see, where they're bumping into each other again. So that could be what's unlocking Jalen Green right now, for sure.
I mean, and you look at the end of the game, too, because the end of the game is really where you saw this core young group really take over. Like, until Fred VanVleet's final free throws, all the points scored from when you're down 108-107, all the points are coming from Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and then Thompson until those final free throws from Fred VanVleet.
Yep.
And to get it back within 1 point to make it 116, 115 was the Jalen Green layup there with 33 seconds left. Like that play, that's what kind of felt like was the next evolution or question for Jalen Green, is that when it comes down to crunch time, when it comes down to closing time, is that going to be the guy that has the ball in his hands, or is it going to be Fred? And to see him drive to the lane and make that shot, it's a huge confidence booster in what he can be.
He's been more efficient since that loss to the Celtics a couple of weeks ago. Over his last 4 games, 33 points on 50% shooting against the Lakers. Took a lot of threes, but he made 41% of them. Against the Wizards, who blow, so take that with a grain of salt. 29 points, 45% from the field, 46% from outside. His last 2 games, and maybe he's just a Memphis killer, 27 points on 52% from the field, 50% from outside on 4 of 8 shooting. And then last night, I mean, this was his magnum opus in terms of efficiency. I can't remember Jalen Green having a game where he shot 72% from the field. I definitely can't remember a game where Jalen Green shot 83% from 3. And I like those games where he's not chucking up a bunch and he's making a bunch. Of course, he's not Ray Allen. He is not a dead-eye shooter. You kind of have to take the bad games with the good games, much like you did with James Harden back in the day. But I'm hoping that, to what you said a little bit ago, Joe, that with Amen Thompson in the starting lineup, things are now all of a sudden opening up for him in a way that you would think they wouldn't, because you would think that Amen Thompson would close things up with him instead of Jabari Smith, outside stretching the court. You feel like it would get more compact and more difficult. It's working.
Yeah, I mean, part of it's just the amount of pressure Amen Thompson can put on the rim as a roller. I mean, there's so many plays that he makes, just catching a dump-off pass and going up strong with it and dunking in a situation where I'm like, there's like 5 guys in the league that start where he got the ball, don't dribble and dunk this. I don't know who else does that other than Amen Thompson. And I think a big case, and we saw it a lot last night, is the defensive playmaking from Amen Thompson, getting steals, getting blocks, pushing the ball in transition. That's really where Jalen Green thrives, and that helps him, I think, get into a rhythm. I think that's part of the reason they seem to have turned a corner together when Amen Thompson gets into the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, how many guys? It's the efficiency to have 42 points on 18 field goal attempts. I mean, he gets 11 free throws in last night's game. If you just compare the raw numbers to his other 2 games in which he scored 42 points, so he tied his career high in last night's game. If you look at those games, it took him 13 3-point attempts and 12 3-point attempts to get there, shooting around 50% each time. The free throw numbers are there, but the stuff in the paint is also not as efficient. So just to get 42 points on 18 shots is not an easy thing to do.
It feels like an anomaly almost, but it was really impressive.
For sure. But I think to the bigger picture of Jalen Green and what he can be, and is this an anomaly? There are very few guys in the NBA who are good enough pure scorers to get 42 points on 18 shots. Even if I don't know what his ceiling is still, but there are just not a lot of guys in the league that can do that. And it shows you how good he was last night to be that efficient. It was, I think, his best game of his career. I know you asked that in the group chat last night. I would say this is the best game of his career. It's a tie for his highest point total. And it's the first time in which he's done it in a game that matters at all.
Right. And look, they're learning what those are as time goes on. I liked how Ime Udoka singled out Green's defense when asked about what's been different this year after a night where he scored 42 points. Now, this is, I think, the really interesting thing coming out of this game. And I want to give a shout out to Adam Spillane over at the Texans flagship and for the Associated Press. I even texted him, hell yeah, when he asked Ime Udoka a question that I did not know if we would hear this year. Here it is.
We'll be at the halfway point when this trip is over. You're second in the West right now. What's the ceiling of this team? Can this team win a championship this year?
I mean, we can improve vastly still, and that's the good part about it. When you look at, our 12 losses, you could cut that right in half, based on some last, fourth quarters things that happened early in the year, some of the bad losses to Charlotte and Portland and some of the teams, San Antonio, and the teams that we felt we should have taken care of business against. And so now we've done really well against the lower record teams and played well against the good teams for the most part. And so I think it's all building blocks, and the confidence continues to grow. But the thing about us as a staff and our team is that we know we can get so much better. And that's why we're excited about where we're at and where we can get to.
What a non-answer. Incredible defense by Ime Udoka.
Yes.
I just like that the question got asked.
Because it's deserved. They're 11-3 against the top 8 teams in the West.
That is true.
It's the only team they've lost to more than once in the Western Conference in the top 8 currently as it stands is Oklahoma City. Now, they haven't played Denver yet.
Which they will on Thursday.
But they're playing really good basketball against the top teams. They beat the Clippers 3 times. They beat Memphis 3 times. They beat Dallas twice. They beat the Lakers. They're 1-1 against Minnesota. The only team that's really caused them problem at the top is OKC. Now, to Ime Udoka's point, they've lost to some dog teams too this season. Like little shot at the Spurs there. Even though
they got smoked by the Celtics too pretty recently last
Yeah.
time they played them.
But I think the question is deserving of what's the ceiling for this team.
I'm intrigued. I don't know what it is. I think asking about championships, if you're Ime Udoka, you can't answer that. And I do think that this year, definitely not going to happen. Just because, I mean, they're young. They haven't even played in a play-in game yet. You know?
Sure.
We're still waiting on that. But, I mean, that's happening. At the absolute worst, that is happening this year. And it's great to finally have that question asked about a basketball team that over the last couple of years has been fighting and clawing to make you want to watch them. Last night, I wish I had watched them instead of Vikings-Rams. The entire way through, I shouldn't have given Vikings-Rams an effing second. My gut told me Sam Darnold stinks. He always stinks. He always will stinks no matter what Kevin O'Connell does. And that's on me. That's on me. And I fell asleep watching it in a very old man moment, an old man kind of night where I got into the back seat of my car and was wondering why the hell the back seat of my car looked so different from the front seat of my car. Like seriously thinking that was the front seat of my car. And those two things last night, I'm getting older. And when you get older, you got to prioritize certain things. And at least Super Wild Card weekend, the Monday Night Football game where the Rockets are playing on that same game again, they get big TV.
They do. Because, and you know,
congratulations, Houston Rockets. That's a prestigious honor.
My gosh, they're just enjoyable to watch. Like, it's just such a, they're
I love them.
They're a fun watch.
They play football.
They're easy to root for. The players right now, it's a good television.
Do you like Dylan Brooks yet?
I've come around.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the big win.
Yeah, I like Dylan Brooks.
We got him.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
As long as he's on the Rockets, I like Dylan Brooks. But I'm in on Dylan Brooks now.